You're timid, soft, someone who apologizes for existing.
Funny, your wife said the exact same thing to me last night.
My name is Adrienne Clark, and that night at Maya's birthday party was the moment I learned silence, ice, and always strength. Sometimes it's the very thing that lets people walk all over you. My wife, Lena, was practically glowing the moment we stepped inside. She just thrived in crowds, soaking up the noise and social energy. I didn't, but I was there because I always was. Loving her meant letting her shine while I blended into a corner with a drink. I figured the night would be harmless, uncomfortable, sure, but harmless. That is, until Elliot walked in. He was tall, loud, and dramatic, the kind of man who thinks charisma is an excuse for everything. He was one of Lena's old university friends, someone she always insisted was annoying but harmless. The way he hugged her lingering, overly dramatic, like he was greeting an old flame instead of someone's wife, didn't feel harmless at all. But I stayed calm. I always did. At first, the evening went on smoothly enough. Lena laughed, floated through the room, introduced me here and there. I smiled, trying to fit in, trying to be the supportive husband. But Elliot just kept orbiting her, like he owned the right to her attention. The first crack in the evening appeared during a silly story. Lena was telling a group how I once flooded the kitchen trying to fix a simple leak. People laughed kindly. I did too. It was a harmless story. But then Elliot stepped in, a smirk spreading across his face. Honestly, Lena, he boomed, his voice cutting through the chatter, you married the softest guy alive. Adrienne, mate, do you ever even raise your voice? Or do you just apologize your way through life? A weak, uncertain ripple of laughter went through the group. Lena laughed too. And that, her laughter, is what stung the most. My face went hot, but it wasn't from embarrassment. It was from a sudden, blinding clarity. I wasn't just being teased, I was being humiliated. By her friend, and she was standing right there, laughing along. I think being calm is better than exploding over nothing, I said lightly, trying to steer the conversation back to safety. But Elliot wasn't finished. Calm? He barked out a laugh. No, man, you're timid. There's a difference. The air around us shifted. The easy laughter faded. Even Lena's smile faltered for a second. She touched Elliot's arm. Elliot, stop. He just waved her off. Now, seriously, how does someone like Lena end up with a guy who looks like he apologizes to waiters for things he didn't even do? Someone exhaled sharply. I heard another person mutter, "That's too far." Lena went tense, her eyes flicking toward me. She was waiting for me to shrink, to stay quiet, to become invisible, the way she'd grown used to me being. But in that moment, something inside me just clicked into place. It wasn't rage. It wasn't shame. It was a quiet, controlled certainty I hadn't felt in years, and I stepped forward. Elliot, I said, my voice perfectly even, you're mistaking politeness for weakness. That's what happens when a man depends on volume instead of character. The entire room fell still. Elliot just stared at me, like he was seeing me for the very first time. What? He sputtered. I held his gaze, my voice calm, steady, and completely unshaken. A man who respects himself doesn't need to put others down for attention. And a man who respects his friends doesn't to humiliate their spouse just to feel a little taller. A murmur of agreement rippled through the circle. Someone whispered, exactly. Someone else nodded. Lena's eyes widened, not with anger, not with embarrassment, but with pure shock. Like she hadn't realized I was capable of taking up space. Elliot opened his mouth, but for once, no sound came out. He wasn't the loudest person in the room anymore. He tried a weak laugh. Relax, man. It was just a joke. A joke is funny when everyone laughs, I replied calmly. When it's only you, it's just insecurity disguised as humor. There was another soft murmur. I even heard a small clap from somewhere behind me. Lena finally stepped forward and touched my arm. Adrene, let's just move away from here. Sure, I said softly, but first I turned back to Elliot. You don't get to comment on my character when yours requires tearing people down. That's not confidence. That's desperation. This time, he didn't even try to defend himself. He didn't mean to everyone in that circle saw it for what it was. Lena gently tugged my sleeve. We walked toward a quiet corner by the patio, the crowd instinctively parting for us. For the first time in years, I wasn't the quiet man fading into the background. I was the man people were looking at with respect. When we reached the patio doors, Lena exhaled, a shaky breath. Adrene, I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have said those things. I agree, I said. She flinched at my tone. It was calm, controlled, and not softened for her comfort. I didn't think he'd go that far, she said, her voice small. He's always been loud, dramatic. I guess I just got used to it. That's the problem, I replied, looking her straight in the eye. You got used to things that disrespect me. Her throat tightened, and she looked down at the floor. You laughed at his first comment, I added, my voice still quiet. And that told me exactly how invisible I've become to you. The silence between us was heavy, but it was necessary. You're right, she whispered, finally looking up. I expected you to just stay quiet, like you always do. So you misjudged me? Yes, she said, her voice cracking slightly. I did. She looked at me, then really looked at me, as if seeing a version of me she'd forgotten, or maybe never even known. The way you spoke to him, she whispered. You weren't angry. You were strong. I've always been strong, I said. You just didn't notice because I didn't parade it around. She swallowed, her eyes softening with something much deeper than regret. It was respect. That night, I didn't just find my voice. I reminded my wife and myself that true strength isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about having the quiet confidence to stand your ground when it matters most. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribed for more.